Welcome back, YouTube viewers, to the 2008 Cleveland Browns Bash. I'm your host, AJ, here with the AFC and NFC Championship Game edition of the show. And last week, I went 3-1 in the divisional playoffs to make my total playoff record now 6-2, which is definitely very good. And that's a very hard record to accomplish after 8 games of the playoffs, so I'm definitely pleased, and I hope I can keep it up this week. I'm going to do the same thing I did last week, where I just talk about last week's games as I talk about this week's games, so let's get right in here. The first game on Sunday is the NFC title game. It is the Philadelphia Eagles at the Arizona Cardinals. Now, last week, the Arizona Cardinals, I was wrong about them for the second week in a row. They just trampled over the Carolina Panthers 33-13, and I thought they had a chance to win the game, but I did not think they would win by 20 points. But they proved me wrong again, and they are now one win from the Super Bowl. Now, the Philadelphia Eagles, I was right about them for the second week in a row, as they were able to win on the road against the New York Giants 23-11, and obviously I took a huge risk last week picking both number 6 seeds, because never before had both number 6 seeds advanced to the conference championship game in the same season in the AFC and the NFC, but both the Ravens and the Eagles did last week, so obviously I was pleased about that. I was probably one of the few people that called both of them last week to win, and you know, it happens, so that's cool for me. And so wrong about the Cardinals, right about the Eagles. Heading into this game, I have a lot more respect for the Cardinals. I know I said that last week, but I have even more respect for them. I mean, they really stepped it up. Their defense has been playing great these last 2 weeks. Their offense, you know, I said at the time I thought that it was a bad idea for Edgerrin James to come out and talk about running the football more and how he wants out, you know, after the season stuff right before their playoff game. But, you know, they've won 2 in a row, and part of that is because they've been running the football more, and they've been doing it effectively, not just Edgerrin James, Tim Hightower too, and they've just been getting it done. Now, looking to the Eagles' defense, they rank in the top 4 defensively in the 4 major stat categories, which is passing and rushing yards allowed per game, total yards allowed per game, and total points allowed per game, which is pretty incredible. Now, the Arizona offense ranks 4th overall. So, you know, both of these teams just, we have some teams that are playing hot right now, and, you know, you look at the regular season records and you just got to look through it, basically, because, I mean, these are 2 very talented teams that are playing very well right now, and, you know, I think that this is going to be, I think it's going to be a game where the teams score in the 20s, which means the Eagles aren't going to have to get as many stops as they did last week against the Giants, defensively, and I do think that the difference, though, I mean, I think that the Cardinals are going to get their points despite the Eagles', you know, very good defense. But, you know, I think in the end it's going to come down to the Eagles' passing game. And I think that, you know, I think that the Cardinals' defense has played great, but I think that the Eagles are just going to be a little bit better in this game. I think it's going to be a very close game. I totally expect the Cardinals to have a great chance just because of what they did last week. But I'm going to say the Eagles, and I'm going to say because of Donovan McNabb, because he's got so many talented receivers to throw to, and Brian Westbrook is included in that. And, you know, both fans of both teams have to be happy with me, really, with this pick. Cardinal fans should be happy with me because, you know, I've picked against you guys' team twice in a row, and they won both of those games. And, of course, Eagle fans are happy with me because I picked the Eagles, and I've picked them the last 2 weeks, and they've won both games. So something has to give because, you know, the Eagles are 2-0 with me picking them this postseason. The Cardinals are 2-0 with me picking against them. So one of these teams is going to lose this week, and I'm doing the same thing, picking against the Cardinals and picking the Eagles. But I'm going to say that the Eagles advance to Super Bowl 43, and I'm going to pick them by 1 point because I think it's going to be a very competitive game. An interesting fact about this game, or about the 2 quarterbacks, the last time these 2 quarterbacks met in a conference championship game, it was back on January 27th, 2002. Kurt Warner's Rams against Donovan McNabb's Eagles, and the Rams were victorious that day, 29-24. So Kurt Warner won that game but I'm going to say Donovan McNabb is victorious on Sunday. Now, the AFC Championship game, after the NFC Championship game, the Baltimore Ravens at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Last week, I called both of these games, both of the AFC divisional games, pretty much perfectly. I said that the Baltimore Ravens would win in a low-scoring defensive battle against the Tennessee Titans by 1 point, and they won a low-scoring defensive battle against the Titans by 3 points, 13-10. I said that the Steelers would win by taking advantage of a tired San Diego defense, and I said that they'd win by 10. They did take advantage of a tired San Diego defense. They scored 35 points, and they won by 11, 35-24. So, now this week, the Ravens and the Steelers meet up in Pittsburgh, and statistically, they are the two best defenses in the NFL. Now, the Steelers have experience behind center where the Ravens lack it, although that hasn't really seemed to matter to Ravens quarterback Joe Flacco this season. But I think that the difference between these two teams really is offense, the running game. The Ravens have a very good running game, and against the Steelers, who only allow 80 rushing yards per contest per game in the regular season, the Ravens in both regular season games, although they lost both of them, they did rush for over 100 yards. So I think that that's going to help them. Obviously, their defense played good in those two contests, and it's going to be really up to Joe Flacco, in my opinion, if he can make some deep, accurate throws. I think that is the key for the Ravens. Of course, they do have to get the running game going, but, you know, if Joe Flacco's on, we will see, which these playoffs, especially last week, I've gained a lot of respect for him. I thought, I said this earlier in the season, I said I didn't like the whole wacko for Flacco people. I thought he wasn't that great. And, you know, against the Browns, I don't think he played that great, but I think he's developed over the season, and for being a rookie, I think he's a very good quarterback, for being a rookie. At this stage in his young career. So we'll see how he plays. Now, with the Steelers, they were without running back Willie Parker the first time these two teams met, and the Steelers did win that game 23-20 in overtime. I believe it was week 5. Actually, it was week 4. But then in week 15, when they played the second time, they did have Willie Parker, and the Steelers won that game also 13-9. But Willie Parker only rushed for 47 yards on 14 carries. So I think that the difference, like I already said, is the running game for the Ravens. The Steelers' main concern should be their running game, because in the regular season they were able to throw the ball effectively. They played good defense against the Ravens. Steelers get their running game going, then the Ravens probably aren't going to have a chance. But I think that the key for the Ravens is stopping the running game and getting Joe Flacco to hit some bombs. He's got to play well, and he responded last week against the Titans. Another great defense, so I expect him to respond well against the Steelers. We'll see what happens. I believe in the theory that it's tough to beat a team, although it's not impossible. 3 times in a row in one season in the NFL, and the Steelers are 2-0 against the Ravens out of 2 tries. They've beat them twice so far this season, and this is game number 3. Now, it's not impossible. That doesn't mean the Ravens are going to win, but, I mean, the Steelers beat the Browns 3 times back in 2002. I also think it's going to be a grudge match, you know, just a slugfest, really, between these teams. You know, and in games like that, those kind of, you know, just gritty games, you want to be able to grind it out, and the keys there are playing defense and being able to run well, which I think the Ravens will be able to do both of this weekend. And I just think that the Ravens are going to turn the tide from the regular season games, because both of those games were very close. They lost by 3 and 4 points, and I think that they're going to get the win. So, I think that the Ravens and the Eagles are going to advance to Super Bowl 43. I'm saying Ravens by 1, just like I picked the Eagles by 1. But that's it. So I'm picking both number 6 seeds to advance to the Super Bowl, which is very risky, again. But I've been risky so far this postseason, and I'm 6-2. So we'll see how I do this week. Ravens, Eagles, Super Bowl 43, that's my prediction. And also an interesting stat, this is kind of like the year of the bird, because bird teams are 5-0 against non-bird teams so far in these playoffs, so that's interesting. We'll see next week. I'll be back with you guys to talk about who I think is going to win Super Bowl 43. We'll see if it's really the Ravens and the Eagles, or if I'm wrong, or if I'm half wrong. And I'll talk about it then with you guys and recap the AFC and NFC Championship games. And until then, this is the 2008 Cleveland Browns Bash. I'm your host, AJ. And I will see you guys next week. Enjoy the NFL playoffs.